have the great pleasure of being the senior pastor here at Bethany Baptist Church, and so I would want to take a moment just to welcome everyone, those that are here with us in person and all of those that are joining with us online, to welcome you here to Bethany and to this Vote 16 Newark Town Hall. I am so, amen, put your hands together. This is an incredible work that has been done and led by an incredible group of partners, and I am so incredibly proud to be a part of that work. And certainly we are proud here at Bethany to be able to host this town hall and to continue to host and to be and to do whatever we can for the betterment of our community, particularly as we think about our kids and the way that they are engaged in their civic responsibility here in the great city of Newark. And so again, I want those that are here, please make yourselves at home. You are welcome here, particularly those of us that are fighting for justice and for engagement. That is absolutely at home here at Bethany. So I'm looking forward to all of those that will come to speak today, all of our distinguished guests that are here. And we'll do a formal welcome to all of our dignitaries. But let me say on behalf of Bethany, welcome to everyone that is here. I'm excited that you are here. We're excited to host this town hall and excited to see what is in store today. It's our hope that what happens today will resonate far beyond the moments that we have on the Saturday morning, but it will continue to catch fire all throughout our young people here in Newark and beyond. I'll say lastly, and I had the chance to work with one of the partners at the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice. We were able to present some of this work that's going on here in Newark at a national conference last summer, and I had so much pride to be able to celebrate some stuff that's going right here in our city, and the way that folks' eyes, representatives from cities across this country, were lighting up to see the work that's being done here in Newark. I had so much pride in my city, so much pride in indeed our organizations, and so again, want to continue to be on the vanguard, as it were, for justice here and for engagement for our young people. So without further ado, let me bring up the sister who will be essentially our MC and moderator for today, Sada Mann, Senior Community Organizer for the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice. Come on, put your hands together for Sada as she comes.
All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here, and welcome to the Vote 16 Newark Kickoff Town Hall. As Reverend Tim said, my name is Sada Mann, and I'm a senior community organizer at the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice, and I have the very fun job of being your MC today as we celebrate this historic step in expanding youth voting rights in Newark. Before we begin, I definitely want to just take a moment to thank Reverend Tim and the historic Bethany Baptist Church for graciously hosting us today. Give it up for Reverend Tim. Yes, Reverend Tim and his team are always opening the doors to the community, and they just, exhibit an unwavering commitment to justice, civic engagement, and youth empowerment. So today we're here because something truly groundbreaking has happened, right? And so many people in this room were a part of that, and that's that Newark is the first city, but ideally not the last, in New Jersey to allow 16 and 17-year-olds to vote in school board elections. And this is a major victory for our democracy, for youth participation, and really for the future of our communities. But let's be clear, this moment is not just symbolic, right? Young people truly deserve a seat at the table, especially when it comes to the elections that directly impact their education, their safety, and their future. Whether it's gun safety, LGBTQIA+ rights, climate change, or simply the right to be taught the truth about America's history, school board policies shape students' daily lives. And we see young people speaking out on these issues every single day. We know that they're passionate, they're engaged, and they're ready to lead. Not just tomorrow, but today. And certainly if we look around the world, look around the country, what a moment for this to be happening, right? What a time. But it wasn't until now, really, that these same young people had a say in choosing the decision makers that shape their future and their daily lives. Now, though, Newark is leading the way in ensuring that young people's voices are heard and where it matters most. And definitely want you guys to give a big round of applause today to this, because today, February 1st, is the very first day that young people who are eligible to vote in these elections will be able to start registering to vote. Yeah, so we're going to jump into our program soon, but before we get going, I want to just thank everybody who helped make today possible. We couldn't have made it to this moment without the leadership and dedication of so many people. So I want to thank the city of Newark, and in particular, Mayor Raz Baraka and his team for championing this initiative. I want to thank some of our partner organizations. Shout out to Vote 16NJ, the GEM Project, Abbott Leadership Institute, the NAACP, Victoria Foundation, and so many others. Please don't be offended if I did not name you, but we do have a slide here with some of our partners, so shout out to them for all their help. And most importantly, we want to thank the young people in this room and across the city of Newark. Yeah. Because, as I said, this is about you, this is about your future, but your everyday lives here right now, and just your ability to have your voice at the seat at with a seat at the table. We have an exciting, informative program ahead. You're going to learn all about what this new law, this new ordinance means, how it works in actuality, how you can register to vote, and of course, how to spread the word. I want to welcome to the stage a few people to give some opening remarks and greetings, especially folks who have been there from the very beginning. So first, please join me in welcoming to the stage Congresswoman LaMonica McIver. Yes. Congresswoman McIver represents the 10th Congressional District, and as we know, when she was the president of the Newark City Council, she was key to extending voting rights to 16 and 17-year-olds in the school board election. So thank you for being here, Congresswoman.
Thank you so much, Asada. Let's give it up one more time for Asada, who's been doing great work in this. So, as mentioned, I was super excited. I told the superintendent when I walked in this morning, I got an email, I think it was late last night or the night before, indicating that my child, if 16 or 17, can register to vote. And that went out to all parents. I'm definitely assuming it went out to all parents because my child is only 8. But I am super excited about that. It's like we're finally at reality after so much work that went into this. It's an honor to stand before you this morning as we kick off the Vote 16 Town Hall. I hope one of many. I want to take a moment to first thank the incredible young leaders in the room, the students, educators, advocates, and community leaders who have come together to create a lasting impact in the city of Newark. Trust me, when I walk in the halls of Congress, folks are asking me, hey, you guys got Vote 16 and 17-year-olds in the city of Newark. I'm like, we sure do. Let me tell you how we did it so you can do it in your state, in your city. The dedication and vision that went into this definitely is just something that we're going to be talking about for years to come. As many know, the Vote 16 program is very close to my heart. As president of the Newark City Council, I advocated to bring this initiative to our community, which was not easy. We're all here clapping today and celebrating, and I'm looking over at my clerk, Keisha Daniels, because we had many conversations, many meetings to get to this point to help ensure our young people have more of a voice on the issues that impact them. So thank you to everyone, and especially to our clerk for the city of Newark, who really, really got down and dirty and rolled up her sleeves to get this done. Some folks may say, and we heard it during our testimony during the city council meeting, should 16-year-olds even be allowed to vote? And my answer still remains the same. It is simply, if they are old enough to work, pay taxes, then they should be able to have a say in the state of their education. They should be allowed to be heard in their school board elections. Young people have always been on the front lines of democracy, even before they were of voting age. History has shown time and time again how impactful it is when we give young people, our future, a platform to speak on. Their perspectives, dreams, and ideas are essential for creating a better and brighter world for us all. In just 8 years, my little Zaya, my daughter, will also have the incredible opportunity and responsibility to cast her vote in her school board elections here in Newark. And best to believe, as we say, I will be taking her to the polls to cast her vote. As a mother, this thought fills me with immense hope and pride, and hopefully to the parents here in the audience, it does the same for you. It means everything to me knowing that she will be able to advocate for herself and her community. She will help shape a future where her voice is heard, where her opinions will have impact. When young people engage in decision-making regarding their education, It not only empowers them, but it also instills in them a sense of responsibility and duty. In here today in this agency to take part of your education and advocate for a school board that best suits your needs as students. I know this as a young person who got involved in politics at the age of 13. I am a true testimony of that it matters when we give young people a seat at the table. I would not be able to stand here today and say I am your United States Congresswoman of the 10th Congressional District had I not got a seat at the table as a young person. To the adults, I know we must continuously support and encourage our youth, helping them understand that their voices and their choices matter. I end with this. Your vote is your voice. And if this week, let me say it again. This week has not taught you that. I don't know if you could see or hear. You might want to go get checked out at the doctor to make sure your hearing is working, to make sure your vision is up to par, because it has been a week from hell. Sorry, Pastor. It has been a week. And I say to people when we're talking about us, when we're fighting, when we're talking about going to court, I say this is what we talk about when we say your vote matters. It matters. It matters, and there's so many people who are figuring that out today as we've been battling all week, and we are just at the beginning. We are not 30 days into this new administration. So use that power to create the change you wish to see in this world. We can do this. We have had so many meetings this week with different organizations, different groups about their funding, about their rights. I mean, it has been just a filled week of chaos, but at the same time trying to organize, because us in this time does not mean that we give up, that we're counted out, that we sit down. We've been here before. We've been here before. And so because we've been here before, we know what we need to do. We have to fight. We have to organize more now than ever. And so we still have our joy, y'all. We still have our joy. We still have our joy, we still have our fight, and we're gonna do what we need to do. And I'm just super excited here. While we're in a world where we see different places stripping democracy, I'm super excited to be talking about Newark, New Jersey, to be born and raised here, to live here, to be a homeowner here, saying not in Newark. We don't take away democracy, we extend it. So thank you all, and looking forward to the next town hall.
Definitely has been a week. We're feeling every single one of those 31 days of January, right? Thank God it's February 1st. All right, thank you so much, Congresswoman. Next, I want to invite to the stage another champion of this initiative and just, youth participation in democracy. Please help me welcome to the stage County Commissioner Adorian Murray Thomas. Yes. Adorian's the District 2 Commissioner on the Essex County Board and is the youngest serving member of the board. She's also a beloved daughter of the city of Newark, a passionate advocate for youth leadership, an example of what it means to be an engaged community leader. Thank you, Adorian.
So much. Appreciate you. Oh, Lord. It's Black History Month. I just realized that. Hey. For the cramped, bewildered years, we went to school to learn, to know the reasons why and the answers to, and the people who, and the places where, and the days when. In memory of the bitter hours when we discovered that we were Black and brown and poor and femme and queer and differently abled and immigrant and young and different. And nobody cared, and nobody wondered, and nobody understood. For My People by Margaret Walker. Good morning, Vote 16 Town Hall. You are my people. This is our people. To Asada, to Ryan, to the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice team, to Vote 16, to the community partners, esteemed guest, to the pastor of this great church, Reverend Dr. Timothy Atkins Jones, and to, of course, our young people. Can you make some noise for our young people who make this all possible? Any young people in here? Can we hear you real quick? Any young people in the room? Make some noise, y'all. That's right, that's right, that's right. It's so important that we're here on a day like today because as my Congresswoman and Asata shared, this is a time where we have to ask ourselves, who are our people? When it seems that every time we open our phone, we discover another mass shooting, a natural disaster, an attempt to ban an app so we don't know what's going on in the world, or some kind of crisis, because politicians like to choose chaos over community and capitalism over care, when students are literally leaving whole schools because of racism and anti-Blackness, when our parents and caregivers are worried about paying the bills, but those in power are passing bills that remove choices from what we can do with our bodies and the bodies of those in our families, when our teachers and principals and educators are practicing drills for mass shootings and ICE raids because they'd rather drag our kids from their classroom seats, funded by taxpayer dollars in the name of Christian values, as if Jesus himself, Pastor, wasn't a Palestinian Jew once seeking asylum. I don't know, y'all, at times like this, I have to ask myself, who are our people? But I'm glad to not be asking alone, because Larry Ham asked who were our people when he became the first student appointed to the Newark Board of Education. The Black Rutgers Newark Coalition asked who are our people and decided we had a seat at the table when they took over Conklin Hall in the late 60s in protest of the students who were not finding themselves reflected in the faculty, because Jennifer and Israel and Brianna and so many other young people right here in Newark walked out of their schools to protest an unjust superintendent who wasn't listening to their students, because young people across the city of Newark just 2 years ago, like those at North Star and across other cities, walked out in March 2022 because they felt their Black teachers were being mistreated at their local school. Unfortunately, we are not used to or unused to figuring out who our people are. But I say to you on today, as someone who at 16 started a free tutoring program with my friends. Who's here with their friends? Any young people here with their friends? Yeah. So we started a nonprofit for other kids who wanted to learn how to get ready for the SATs because other kids didn't have access to it. We started it right here in Newark. That was at 16. We ran that for over 100 kids right here in the city of Newark for free to get ready for the college application process. And at 19, I started a nonprofit for young girls like me affected by gun violence. And at 23, as a result of that work, our great mayor, Mayor Rashi Baraka, asked me to run for school board. And I asked him if I could have some time to think about it, because I wasn't sure if running for office was like something that I could actually do. But I ran and I won, and at 23 years old, became the youngest woman elected to the Newark Board of Education. And last year, at 28, became the youngest woman elected to the Essex County Board of Commissioners. I say this because all of us today know that while representation alone isn't liberation, we have to not just vote, but we have to use our voice. We have to show up to the board meetings. We have to show up to the congressional hearings. We have to tune into them online. We know that voting is one of the easiest and most sacred ways to make our voices heard. And young people, if voting was not so important, they would not be working so hard, David, to make sure you didn't have the right to do it. So show up, show out. In the words of Zora Neale Hurston, if I did not tell people that I was suffering, they would kill me and say that I enjoy it. Young people, you must be at the table so you are no longer on the menu. If you want to make sure that the school lunches that you have are a little bit better, you got to vote 16. If you want to make sure that girls' teams get as much money as the boys' teams, you got to vote 16. If you want internships and real-world experiences and real Black and brown and indigenous history being taught in your schools, like Mr. Williams and the Amistad Act and so many people helped fought for, then you have to vote 16. If you believe that some of them simply are not like us, in the words of Kendrick Lamar, and you got to be like yourself, Jennifer Made, Amanda, the Gym Project. You have to vote 16. Si quieres ver reflexiones de ti mismo y las cosas que te importan en las personas que toman decisiones. If you want to see yourself and the things you value reflected in the people making decisions, then you got to vote 16. Because it's our duty to fight. It's our duty to win. We must love each other and support each other. We have nothing to lose but our chains. Thank you. Vote 16. Let's fight. Let's win. Let's vote. And let's do it all the time. Thank you so much.
I didn't know we get down like that here at Bethany. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Adorian, for those very powerful words. Great to have you in the building with us here today. Next, I'd like to introduce another great supporter, great leader of this work. That's Mr. Craig Drinkard. He's the executive officer of the Victoria Foundation. Come on out, Craig. We're so grateful for his leadership, the work of his team, and just everything he does to strengthen the city of Newark and all of our communities. Welcome, Craig.
Good morning. On behalf of the Victoria Foundation's Board of Trustees and staff, it's truly an honor to be here this morning. To all the people who have worked so hard on this project, but for those whose names would never be mentioned the decades before to get us to this point, we want to take this moment and honor them because we are the dreams that they had when they were fighting when no one else was looking. Before there was a TikTok and Facebook and all that kind of stuff, they were putting their lives on the line for us to be in this room today. You know, it's really moving when you see people like the Congresswoman, County Commissioner, who can authentically tell the story of how they started this work as young people. So it says something about, despite what they want to tell us, there's something in our soil that allows young people to grow, right? We have it, right? We have that history. And to see you, Adorian, I told Adorian, I saw her this morning. I said, Adorian, before I came in, I had the TV on, and there was Steve Adebato had his think tank on, and Adorian was one of the guest speakers. So it was just I was so proud to see you on that screen, and I knew I was going to see you today. So just thank you for all that you do in the spaces that you operate, right? In the spaces that at some point in time, they would never imagine someone like you being in that space, right? So seize it. Do all that you can to push it to its limits, and when necessary, break it. Right? Because lives matter, right? Our lives matter. So thank you for being in that space. And I know the Congresswoman has many obligations, and she's running back and forth between D.C. and here, so I wish I was here to say some words to her. As a young person growing up in this city, who proud graduate of Newark Public Schools, Go Westside High School, to be standing at this moment as an adult to see what young people are about to walk through and do for this city is unbelievable, right? We know that there are times when adults get swayed by others to vote certain ways, right? But our young people who will be stepping in this space have an obligation to them, only to themselves and the generations after them, right? They don't have hidden agendas, right? They only want what's best for them and their brothers and sisters coming after them, and hopefully the generations after. So we ask the young people to, who are here and those who will be signing up and going on that day to cast that vote, do it, yes, for you, but be brave enough to be like your ancestors and do it for those who you would never meet, right? Those you would never meet, they will have that opportunity because you stood up and took that reign, right? I would say to us as adults, let's be careful and let's be mindful that when the school board election is held and they vote, we don't judge them by a different standard if they don't show up at 70%, because we show up at 3%. Right? Let's be mindful that we don't say, see, this doesn't work. Like, this is the long work that we all have to invest in, right? And I would say from the Victoria Foundation, we are committed to be here and to be a partner. We recently went through a change in our focus areas, and one of the areas that we are leaning into is called strengthen community power, and another is promote youth self-determination. There's nothing more powerful than the young people having the right to vote for their own self-determination. So again, I'm just honored to be here to play whatever role we can play to be supportive of this work. Let us know. We will show up like we have, and hopefully we can do more. So thank you all, and I turn it back over to you, Asada.
Thank you, thank you. Quick question. Dorian, how old were you when you were elected to the school board? 23, and Larry Ham was 17, I think, when he was appointed. Yeah. I think, I'm pretty sure that as long as you could register and vote, you could run too, right? I think that's what we heard. So we could have 16-year-olds running for the school board this cycle, right? Well, there's a lot of young people in this room, so I hope you heard that. I hope you know that the deadline to collect your petitions, which is about 25 signatures, is February 24th, and do with that info what you will. All right, one more speaker before we get really started. I want to welcome the South Ward Councilman, Mr. Councilman Council, to the stage to give a few words and just talk about his role and his support of this initiative.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. So, I was going to cheat and stand down on the floor and talk to you folks, but it is great to be here this morning, to Pastor Atkins, to Ryan Haygood, to Asada, and this whole Vote 16 movement. You know, Congresswoman was here earlier, and as the council president, she had the wherewithal and thought, as we met with Ryan and folks from the Institute of Social Justice, to talk about the need and necessity to encourage our young people to participate in the voting process. And so as she was the sponsor of the bill, I was the co-sponsor. And sometimes I just want us to always get and gain perspective that there would be no Jesus without John the Baptist. And so I don't want us to get mixed up about what we do. To Superintendent Leon, who is here, who really could be the navigator and driver of this entire initiative as we deal with encouraging our young people to get out and execute their right to vote. Least we forget Sherney, Chena, and Goodwin, the work that they did going down to Mississippi, giving up their life for the right to execute and get folks involved in the voting process. Least we forget Mega Evers going in the house at night to be able to see his children, but unfortunately gunned down in front of his children. Least we forget the works of Dr. King as he stood on the Lorraine Motel and was executed. Malcolm X, who was shot dead in the Audubon Auditorium. We cannot forget the historical landscape of the struggle and sacrifice that our folks have fought for. Our grandmothers and great-grandmothers, those who had to fight to count how many jelly beans were in a jar, to be able to try to figure out the right to vote, poll taxes and all the things that were put on our ancestors to discourage and push them away from voting. Voting is a necessary tool. Voting is a matter of life and death. And so I encourage each and every one of us to continue to get out, educate our young people, get them engaged and involved in this needed process. And when they ask you how important voting is, all you have to let them know was that there was a vote to kill Jesus. That when they stood out in the crowd, they said, "Who do you want to save, this Barabbas or this Jesus?" And the vote was for Barabbas. So just think about that. God bless you.
All right, so now we're going to kick off our program. We're a little behind schedule, so we're trying to get this show back on the road. To begin, we're going to have two panels today. The second one is going to be a discussion with some of the young leaders, young activists in the city. So please stick around for that. But right now, we're going to dive into a discussion on what this new ordinance means, how the school board election process will work, and what you need to know about exercising your new voting rights. So I want to introduce to the stage my colleague, McAudie Vargas, Associate Counsel at the Institute. She's going to moderate the voter education panel in this next segment. And McAudie's joined by several of the city's public leaders, and she will introduce them. So let's give them a warm welcome. Yes. Also, let me say that after each of these panels, we will have a Q&A. And so if you want to ask a question, there's a mic in the center of the room here. So you just go up to that mic and ask your question, all right?
Thank you, Asada, for that warm introduction. So this has been a long time coming, and I'm very, very excited to be here today with three panelists who I very much deeply admire. I just recently met these people, but I know the work that they do is very close to my heart. Educators here and city clerk who runs the city basically and writes all our laws. So I am very, very fortunate to get to moderate this panel and to, having met them and learned a little bit about what they do every day for this great city, I feel extremely honored to be here. First, I would, like to introduce you all to the panelists. They are the superintendent of the school district of Newark, which covers, I don't know how many schools, but when you told me it was like 64 schools in Newark. Roger Leone, Superintendent Roger Leone, and then also Keisha Daniels, our city clerk of Newark, and Dr. Brown, who is the Chief Education Officer for the City of Newark, which is the liaison between the school district and the city. I will allow you guys to talk a little bit more about your roles and who you are, but I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Leone, Superintendent Leone. You can tell about yourself.
All right. Good morning. Good morning. All right. So, first of all, just this is an incredible and historic day. The reality is that we have unfortunately been at this point in time on more than one occasion where the children of the city stand up because the adults like to sit down. So I would like to commend all of the work involved in what has gotten us to this day. I'm Roger Leone, the proud superintendent of Newark Public Schools. To be able to be before you just adds to this whole concept of being able to live one's own dream. I've often called the South Ward of the city the gem of Newark, and many a times people think it was because I was the principal of University High School. That is in part true, but it was because I was born in the South Ward. That's why it's the gem of our city. Having been a student in our schools, Hawkins Street School, in the Hyatt Court section, Hawkins Street area of our city, to Science High School, to teacher, to principal of Horton and University, and then continuing my work here. So as an assistant superintendent for 11, this is the start of my 7th year as superintendent. So I'm extremely excited about this work, the work in general, and then impacting all of our children. So thank you to you, and obviously our incredible panelists this morning.
Thank Thank you, Superintendent. And Keisha, our lovely city clerk.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Keisha Daniels. I am the city clerk for the city of Newark, and I am happy to be here on this great historic day where we are going to empower young people to take more control over their destiny. And as the city clerk, I am happy to discuss with this very knowledgeable panel what it took, the efforts that it took to get to this point in conjunction with the Institute for Social Justice. So I'm just looking forward to the conversation.
Thank you, Keisha. And Dr. Brown.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sharnae Brown. I am also a proud native, born and raised Newarker. I went to Madison Avenue, Maple Avenue School and graduated from Weequahic High School. So, okay, all right, here's some orange and brown out there. So I'm just so excited. I was also had the wonderful opportunity to not just to be educated in Newark, but also to go back, and I work at every comprehensive high school except Eastside. Sorry, Eastside, I didn't make it over there, but I was able to work at every comprehensive high school in every capacity, from a substitute teacher, department chairperson, vice principal, and then a principal. And I've been in this seat working with the mayor for 3.5 years, and so excited to work on a different side. Although we don't have direct supervision over the schools, a mayor by trade is an educator. I always like to point that out. He spent 21 of his years as a fierce educator and very successful, and I had the awesome capacity to work also with him in those efforts. And so my responsibility, my why, is to really give back to the city of Newark what it gave to me. I had the great fortune to be educated by some consummate professionals in Newark. They were sharp, they smelled good, they looked good, and they had very high expectations, and they pushed you, and I'm so happy they did that. And so it has been my dream to smell like them and look like them, but really to give it back to our young people so they can use us as mirrors and then take it to the next level. So I'm happy to be on this panel. I believe in the young people in Newark, so this doesn't scare me. It excites me and it inspires me. It makes me keep being motivated, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much. And you know, it totally escaped me to also greet all of you. Good morning. I am an associate counsel at the Institute, and I have been working on this issue for a few years now. It was probably my first big assignment, was to research this issue and to see it come to life, and with Asada as my partner in crime on this, seeing all the great work she's been doing to get all the students out and hopefully registered and to vote. It's been pretty surreal. This panel, though, will cover the voter education portion. You know, we have these great leaders of our city who are very knowledgeable on all these issues. But I just wanted to preface that the objective of this is to educate everyone listening on this ordinance, the new rights and the key election deadlines, and how this is going to work for all of us involved up here. So with that in mind, I would like to turn it over to our city clerk, Keisha Daniels, to start us off. And maybe if you could give us a brief overview of that ordinance that we worked on together that lowered the voting age to 16 for school board elections.
Sure. Sometimes legislation could sound so boring, but I just want to tap into what you mentioned about working on the issue for a couple of years. So people never really want to know how the sausage is made. You just want to eat the sausage. And now we're at the day where the sausage is prepared. But it did take a lot of time to get it done. It starts as an idea, a concept. Then you have to lobby for support. Then you have to reduce that support to writing. Then you still have to lobby to get people's buy-in. and then you get legislation passed, and then you have to act on it. So that's a very high level of what it took, a couple of council meetings, a vote, and even then, the legislation was passed in January of 2024. It still took time to put it into fruition because we have to work with our state partners, our county partners, in all types of legislation throughout the state. So it's not just, oh, the city of Newark waves a wand and everything happens. It's just a lot of research, reading, writing, talking. And so I really just harken back to all the work that the Institute for Social Justice did to get us to this point. You have no idea the spirited discussions, I will say, that was had in the wake of how we're gonna get this done when no one's doing it, and what it means to be the first, and how the questions are coming, and how you just have to advocate. But we're here, and we're excited, and I know that the students are gonna represent.
Do you mind just telling us what the ordinance says? Oh, very high level, of course.
The ordinance enables 16 and 17-year-olds to vote in the school board election. And I want to stress it's the school board election because we need to manage everyone's expectations. You can't vote for your local council person yet, but hopefully this is the beginning of something that's going to grow and empower us down in the future. But right now, you can vote in the school board election coming up this April 15th. Registration to be able to vote starts today, so this is the kickoff to something great.
Thank you so much. I did also just want to highlight that for the ordinance, you do have to be a resident of Newark,
Yes.
and you also have to be a U.S. citizen. But other than that, if you're 15 and will be 16 by the day of election, you can still register to vote also. And yeah, so we'll go into more of the deadlines in a little bit, but for now, I just wanted to move over to Dr. Brown and see if you would like to shed some light on, what is important. Why is it important to engage young people in the democratic process at an earlier age? And how can education systems help students understand and exercise their voting rights?
So that's a great question. I just want to say that when we look at what is the purpose of schooling, right? The schooling should be the place where you learn adulting, right? It is, if you will, kind of like a structured environment that give you all the tools and resources so you can independently be an adult when you are an adult. And we call young people young adults, and so we just have to engage that. We engage the young people, young word a little too often, but we never really engage and trust young people with the adult part of their name. And so I think that it's a wonderful opportunity to engage young people in understanding a very complex process, right, in a real clear way. I know when I was a student, we always got our young people engaged and prepared and understanding the presidential elections. We would have mock debates. We would do all that. So we were very much engaged in following the political process. I think that it's important for us to engage young people in local politics because that is the place where it really goes down. I mean, a lot of times we get young people to look far away and way at the top and, let's look and engage in the presidency. But it's really local politics that we have to live with and endure. If we're absent from that process, if we're quiet from that process, then we're just imposed and suffer. We got to get away from that whole knowledge that we're intended to suffer. I just really have to push back. I know that's not exactly what we're talking about, but we should not have to suffer and be suffering. We should be thriving and learning. And so I think that to engage young people at that very young process will make them more politically astute earlier, right? And then probably more apt to engage because we do put a lot of responsibility on adults who may not have known the process when they were younger. So we invite young people in sooner and make them more aware of the process. And trust me, with young people, what I know about being an educator, once you turn on the stove, I mean, they're cooking without you, right? And so they're so imaginative and innovative, and I think some of the solutions come from them. So we just need to make sure that we say to them, we trust you, get involved, and make your experience in school what you think it should be, because every time I talk to a young person, they told me how to run my school, right? And 80% of the time, they were spot on. So get them engaged in the process.
Thank you. Yeah, and a lot of studies show that the earlier and more often you vote at an earlier age, that you're more likely to become a lifelong voter. Right. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about how our education system can help the students understand this, or how you see your role in this going forward, working as a liaison between the city and...
Well, part of our office is to be a policy lab. It's really not to impose on people the policies, but to create the space to talk about it. I would be really, really interested in knowing how young people see what civic education looks like in school and what's missing from it, right? And so just really to convene and listen and to help support those type of real curricular ideas that can be transformative and empowering. And so I would really, the mayor's role and my role will really be to hear how we can improve on that, and then working obviously with the superintendent and other school types within the city of Newark to make sure that curriculum is implemented well with fidelity based on how it's created. So that's the role we can play.
Thank you so much. I mean, it's very important process. Before we move on, I just wanted to quickly just share our important election dates. So as everyone knows, today is the first day that you can register to vote online or on one of the paper forms. Our superintendent will talk more about that process that he's doing within his schools. But just so you know, registration deadline ends March 25th. If there are two ways that you can vote once you've registered, there is in person and then there is mail-in ballots. There are different ways to do it. You can find one of our information sheets out front that will tell you the dates for applying to do the mail-in ballot by mail, which is by April 8th. To do it in person, you have to go to the county. It's April 14. And then to mail it out, and I know this is probably not the most popular way to do it, but I think it's important for everyone to know that the deadline to mail it is April 15. Of course, we do have the online voter registration system, so I'm assuming with younger voters, this will be the best way to do it. But if you'd want to see your ballots, your in person, then you can get them mailed to you will get a sample ballot regardless, but if you want to vote at home, that's also a possibility. And if you ever experience an issue with that ballot, there is a cure period where they'll contact you to make sure that everything is accurate on your end, and you'll have until April 28th to clear that with the county. We can give you more information on who to call if you experience any issues. But the most important thing for you all to know is that when you register, you will need a valid driver's license number, a non-driver ID number, or the last 4 digits of your social security number. And I know those are not things that everyone has or carries with them, but most of you who are US citizens will have one of these 3 ways to register. Anyway, so moving back to our lovely conversation, I just wanted to quickly ask, actually no, I think we can move on to the man of the hour, Superintendent Leone. And we can talk more about what efforts to support the students you're doing locally. So you tell us what steps the district will take to make sure students are informed and ready to participate. And
excellent, will do. So I wanted to make sure that there are people aware of who's in the room with me today. So we have two of our board members, the Honorable Josephine Garcia. We have the Honorable Camilla Anderson. And we have with us this morning the actual student representative of the Newark Board of Education, Zuri McCoon. And even though I'm going to talk about him in a little bit, Ramel Watson, who's here, was my actual student at University High School. And he will be the person in charge of my 15+ voter registration drive. So just as a premise, I want everyone to know that when I became superintendent, I was walking on the Rutgers campus and I saw a number of an organization recruiting college students to vote. And I didn't know that that's where that happened. That's not where it happened with me when I was at Science High School as a student. So I went up to them and I said, "What are y'all doing?" They're like, "We're registering college students." And I was like, oh my goodness, that makes sense, right? So that they vote. One of the things that they mentioned was that whoever votes, then because your information becomes public, there's profiles. And are you aware that the majority of the people in this room are not considered part of that profile? So then it dawned on me that not only do we need to get more of us in college and on college campuses, and that's what we've been doing, but most importantly, that we need to push the work down into the high schools. So I created the 17+ voter registration drive, and because I trust Ramel, he's the student that went through all of the high schools to actually recruit students who were eligible to vote by the November election. If they were 17 years old, by election day 18, they can vote. But there's always a registration deadline. So I want to make sure that everyone's aware that if you're 15 years old right now, that's why I call it my 15+ voter registration drive. I launch it Monday in all of our high schools. Every student who's 15 years old but will be 16 on election day is eligible to vote. But you can't vote if you're not registered. And the registration deadline is March 25th. So it's almost as though there's a system, and the system is set up with rules, and if you don't know all of the rules, it gets you. So what I'm responsible for is public education. That's what I went to schooling for. That public education. What does that mean? Educate the public. So one of the things that I don't know if everyone's really aware, but where did you get your driver's license? Where did you take the test? More likely than not, you did it in schools. Because in New Jersey, that is where we provide driver's education. When I took it, I was a junior in high school. Today, I offer it for sophomores in high school, so they could get their permit and then actually, eventually, drive. There's no difference with what is happening here. This is historic. So part of the work that began last night, in prepping for last night, Ramel and his team have already identified all of the high schools that we govern over, and on Monday we begin at American History High School by registering students. So we have a student from Newark, the superintendent, getting a student from Newark, Ramel Watson, to go talk to students in Newark about what this is really all about.
thank you.
So I just wanted to, just to bring it to full circle, what I also want you to be aware of is that, and I presented this at the meeting with the mayor and the state officials and the county officials, that because New Jersey, because we're doing this in Newark, there are laws that are still in the books that kind of make this work more complicated in schools. So these are laws that have to change. For example, I could never tell you who are the candidates that are running, but there are going to be people out there who will. The Barabbas story that South Ward Councilman council made, and I text him already, absolutely incredible. Just because somebody's leading you to water doesn't mean you should drink. So one of the things that our young people are gonna learn is that, and you're gonna learn it really quick, because we're gonna change all of the curriculum offerings starting in the middle grades. We're gonna teach 6th, 7th, and 8th graders that there's a new law in Newark that changes their reality, so that by the time they're 15 plus, they actually register to vote. So I'm proud of you, and no, this is gonna work, because it's happening here with you.
Thank you so much, and you actually answered the question I was going to ask you, but that was perfect. And we can open it up to Q&A. As Asada mentioned, we have 10 minutes, so if you all line up behind, I guess, that microphone, you can come up and ask the questions that you'd like to ask of our panelists.
Hello, hi, Nikki with the Jersey Bee. I just wanted to know, when students, will they have to register for federal and state government elections, even though they're registered to vote in their school board? Will they then have to re-register again for the other elections?
I can take this.
Okay.
They will not have to. When they turn 18, it'll just roll into, because this is with the statewide voter registration system.
Can I just make a point that there's a very specific form for them? They can't do the
Yes.
regular registration form. There's a very youth-specific, but then after that, it does transfer. I just want to
It
make
does.
sure.
Thank you, Dr. Brown, for clarifying that.
And that's a good point. I'm glad you did that, because the forms all look the same. So what we don't want to have happen is that you filled out the wrong form. So I know I have, because of the work with the county, we have thousands of them. We're bringing them to you, so you don't have to worry about getting them. And then obviously there's an online way of actually doing the same, because y'all are younger than us. We know that that's what you'll probably do, but we'll make sure that we capture it either way. Okay? You only have to fill it out once, and when you're 18, if no other laws change, because in the districts that did this, then they changed the municipal elections also. So understand that whatever happens here, you don't ever have to register. For a presidential election, if it happens when you're 18, you've already registered, you won't ever have to do it again.
Correct. That is correct. And just to be clear, also on the online voter registration system, it will only work for you if you live in Newark. So that's from our Secretary of State's Division of Elections folks. That's how they programmed it. So this will only impact you. So if you're a 16-year-old that lives in another town, this will not work for you. Okay, next question.
They knew a lot about civics and how to make people accountable. So if I can have somebody speak to the fact that why they didn't have mandatory civics, mandatory education prior to getting to this effort. Because I'm really concerned that people will manipulate them because they're not sophisticated. You know, I was in the class, the first class of 18-year-olds to vote, and we walked across the stage like graduation in order to register to vote. It was like, you know, really important. And I'm not saying this is not important, but I said if you really want them to be able to make people accountable, they really have to know. And I'm teaching high school students now, and I'm teaching college students, and many of them don't even know what the word public means, right? Every one of my students will have an app on their phone, the Constitution of the United States, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, and the Declaration of Human Rights. They need to know that fundamentally. So if somebody could speak to why that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
I mean,
It look like there's, you know, manipulation. And I love these children. I don't have any children, so I gotta love them. And I love this community. And I don't want to see anybody take advantage of them. Thank you.
no, we completely agree that civics is very important. The ordinance itself was not addressing civics education, just the voting age, but we are making a lot of efforts to increase civics on this regard, and I'll turn it to Superintendent to
Just
talk about that.
real briefly, because your point is, well, every time you say something is brilliant. So let's put that out there real quickly for you. But because you are one of our finer college professors in our city, and I thank you for that. But it's almost as if somebody set it all up this way. We used to offer civics in Newark. Then it got removed. So then you wonder why people don't know? Because it got removed. So part of our strategy now, because of the law changing through this ordinance, that forces the district to pivot in what we're actually doing. So we actually do have a civics course, but making sure that it's embedded in other courses. Part of the work that Zuri and I were talking about just on Thursday was we offer civics, but if you don't take it as an elective, you don't actually ever have civics. So how do we embed the civics course in other courses to make sure that we're drilling this point? So it's a little bit more intricate in the high schools because of course requirements, but we're still going to do it there. We're going to be able to impose it much earlier in the earlier grades. So definitely 3rd, 4th grade to begin doing that work there. By 8th grade with voting for student council, class presidents, things of that nature, it will begin to elevate the discourse earlier than ever before, simply because by 15 plus, they're going to have to register. When I say have to register, meaning to provide them the opportunity to register. Last night, I sent a letter, as you heard, the Congresswoman, her daughter is doing really, really well in one of our schools. All of the parents received the communication from me saying this starts February 1, ending March 25th, and the role that we would play in assisting in this work.
Just to tell you that, you know, I love this community, have always done, lived in the 3rd wealthiest community on the planet, but this is my home, this is where I'm supposed to be, so in that reason, if you need help, I'll be more than happy to do it for free.
Gotcha.
I already have a curriculum.
I definitely am one of Professor Carter's kids, and I'm actually I have access to some safe spaces. Definitely like the Youth Career One Stop downtown. Maybe if between the Career One Stop, maybe Symphony Hall, Talia, maybe like some safe spaces, right? I think we could try to get the kids outside. So like we got the laws passed and stuff. So now it's kind of like reverse engineering, because just like how you said, it was probably set up for design. You know, they took out the gardening, took out the civic engagement and stuff like that. So now I think this is the time that we have to pull together our resources and then kind of just reverse engineer the job. Knowing our target population, you know, it's a few things that get our people outside, whether it's some type of incentive. Sometimes it could just be a safe space. Sometimes it could just be offering just that love and other resources outside of voting and stuff, right? So I think we have enough people in this room, enough stakeholders and everything to try to pull together to try to get them outside, so now we can have those Bill of Rights talk. I seen Dr. Brown come to the hub last year, right? To have certain conversations with that. So now I just think it's a time that we got to pull together and then try to reverse engineer the job. So to avoid what Professor Carter said, any type of manipulation and stuff like that. So I'm just offering that, and then we could talk offline. So.
Thank you so much. I believe we're out of time, but I think there's a small line of questions. I don't know if we can keep going. Can we keep going? Okay, all right.
Good afternoon. Okay, good afternoon. Just to build on what the former speakers were saying, right? We have a lot of organizations in the city. One of our big organizations in the city is like Newark Youth Career Pathways, and some of them are in the space today. They have a lot of partner organizations that do this work, like they're teaching leadership and civics in some of the public schools. We have parent, teacher, student associations We have different organizations across the city that does a lot of this type of work. How are we incentivizing the youth in the district to actually turn out to vote? Are we offering them community service hours if that's still a part of graduation requirements? Are we offering them excused lateness or absences if they're going to go out to vote to show proof that you went and did it, right? All right, since we can't as a district, I guess, from the administration or from the board side, exactly promote candidates, can the student board governance committees and their student bodies and the PTAs, PTOs set up in the schools opportunities for forums like this with folks who are supposed to stand up and say, I want to run to represent you? What are we doing to incentivize and really galvanize our city to turn out the vote?
Yeah, I think it's really important. That in lies some of what the issues are, because there's certain, while this occurred, there's still laws in New Jersey that kind of govern to the degree in which certain things happen. So there are going to be changes to those laws to help answer the question a little bit differently. You know, we're thinking about hosting, everyone likes to have a debate with the candidates. Well, guess what? We might want to run one ourselves, right? So ultimately, and when I say we, I'm talking about, I know I'm a superintendent, I'm talking about the kids in our city might want to ask some questions of the adults who are seeking their vote now, right? So we're going to develop that. You and I will obviously be in everyone's lives, Darty, so
Yeah.
we'll be in talks.
Yeah, and also please feel free to reach out to Asada on our team. She's leading a lot of efforts on the community efforts front to do some of that voter education and exciting GOTV work as we get closer to the election day. So feel free to reach out to us too, as well as the superintendent, but you might have a lot on your plate.
And I just want to offer the city as an option to really be able to have some of those think tanks around what it could look like. And I know the superintendent mentioned Ramel Watson. I also want to mention Alnisa. They are part of the city's College and Youth Affairs team. And so they also do this type of work. We don't mind supporting the city to kind of like host some of those think tanks and again, act as a policy lab to say what are some of the things that we want to see happen in those civics classes and what we can do from the community partners perspective to galvanize the community. And so just want to let you know that those things are still an option. We still have time, and it's something I think that is imperative, and to understand that even though they will be voting for the school election, charter school students and private students who are in private schools, they also will be able to vote because they are Newark residents. And so that's also groups that we have to galvanize and support because all of them are our young people. So.
Exactly.
Good afternoon. I'm currently a freshman at Payne Tech, and I would definitely be interested in voting or registering to vote next year. So as a student, how can I best educate myself on the candidates that'll be running, or also my local government, or just my local politics in general?
I'll say two things. That College and Youth Affairs, they also will be making commitments to come visit your school and register those young people. Can you stand up, you guys? So when they see your faces, let's give it up to them because they've always been doing voter registration in the schools. But I know like last time the NAACP and I think Kalina Barrowman and our Abbott Institute, I apologize if I'm incorrect, they actually hosted one online that you can tap into and listen to the candidates themselves. I will make sure that I get on all these people's mailing lists so when they hold events like that, you can attend as a community person and really get the scoop. And you can walk away saying, I know who I'm voting for. And I just want to say out there, really, in light of this last election, more than young people can be manipulated. Let's keep it real. Let's keep it real. And so that's a part of the process, and we need to jump in it. And I'm pretty sure that young people do have a genuine spirit, right? And I think that they have a pulse on some of the issues. So please get the name of David and different people like that. Get their information so you can be on their mailing list, and so you can go see the debates that are already happening in the community.
Okay. We have one last question, I believe, right?
as a sophomore, I would like to know, because you mentioned that you were gonna like help sophomores get their permit. I would like to know what steps are you gonna take to carry that out.
On the drivers? All right. When we finish, we'll that's a great question. You just come up to me and we'll talk, okay? I'll make sure you have my. You gonna drive? All right, good. We want to make sure you pass that test.
Yes.
Make sure you pass it.
All right. Thank you, everyone. And that was our panel. I'm going to turn it over back to our MC, Asada. And it was lovely to speak to all of you today. Please let us know if you have any questions after. Reach out to any of us.
All right. Thank you so much to our panelists and our moderator there, McGowdy. I just wanted to piggyback off of something that she addressed, which was in response to the question, with a concern about civics education and just folks actually being able to understand what the school board does, what they're, and all those things. The Institute is working with a group of partners, many of which were involved in this event, as well as the summit that we had in October, to actually host a series of events that we're calling the Brick City War Tour, the Vote 16 Brick City War Tour. And similar to what the gentleman said there, which was about identifying locations in the community that young people could come out, number one, just to connect, but then number two, to learn about these things. That's exactly what we're trying to do. And so if this interests you, if you want to be part of this series, you want to partner, please contact me, reach out to me after. But then to add to that, we also have another initiative called the Youth Ambassadors Program, where we've actually been, working to identify and recruit high school students in each one of the city's high schools to really be like the point persons and the leaders in their schools and to the extent possible in their neighborhood. Obviously we're going to have voter registration here today, and there's going to be many organizations sponsoring initiatives, but we know that this work is going to be most effective and the message is going to be probably best well received when it's from young people by young people, right? If we're talking about real long-term leadership and not just giving a vote, but real leadership, we need to be making sure that we're empowering our young people to do this work themselves with our support. So if you know any young people, any high school students who want to be part of that program, please let us know. We have a training series, we have resources, and we'll be meeting with them regularly to support them in that work. And that brings us to our next segment, our next panel, which is going to include some of the young people who are already leading in this city. And so we have an amazing group of them who are working to spearhead this word, spread the word. So I want to welcome them all to the up to the stage here, if you'll join me. First, we have Devin Mitchell, who's a fellow with the GEM Project. Give Devin a hand. All right. We have Madison Ford, who's with the Abbott Leadership Institute and Youth Media Symposium. And we have Nathan Duguid, president and founder of the Young Voters Association. Let's give them all a round of applause. All right, and we're going to have a short conversation about some of the work they're doing, and they'll answer some questions. I know the superintendent and others mentioned candidate forums and just all types of things. Some of these young people this year and in the election cycles past have been part of leading youth-led candidate forums and other initiatives, so they'll be talking about that. All right, so we're going to go right down the line here, and I'm just going to ask you all to please introduce yourself, share your name again, your organization, and share a little bit about your org's mission, how it connects to youth voting and civic engagement, and if you could do it all in the same response, tell us what motivates you to be involved, why you're excited to vote, and just what Vote 16 means to you.
All right, good afternoon to you all. My name is Devin Mitchell. I'm a high school fellow, a part of the Fellows Program GEM Project. I attend Science Park High School, and I feel like it's really important as students that we have our voice heard, and groups such as this event today, but beyond, and the electoral decisions during our candidacies and hearing what students truly think and how we want our school environments to be able to change. My fellows, Brianna and Nathaniel, were a big initiative in the Vote 16, and I look forward to making similar impacts just as them in our community, allowing students to make the change that they want to see.
Hi, my name is Madison Ford. I'm 17 years old. I go to Bard High School Early College. I'm a part of YMS Youth Media Symposium, and at YMS, we educate young students to try to get their voices out there, to get them heard in events like this that impact them directly, because I feel like if it's for us, then it's by us. And although we're not as old and experienced as the older people, age doesn't really matter, because these matters still directly impact us. So we should still have a voice in it. Also at YMS, we have a website and a toolkit where we've made PowerPoints on civic education, the school board, the history about the school board, and how we can get students to be more engaged in Vote 16. And on a toolkit, you can see how we talked about there's 9 members on the school board, what they do, how they make decisions in the school, and also what is civic education. So we find it important to try to educate young students in Newark to get them involved. So because a reason that students may not know about Vote 16 and they're not really getting involved in it is because they're not engaged. So it's important that we try to get incentives to get them involved in matters like this so they can get their voices out there and they can know that it's important for them to be heard. And this is our hope is to get them more motivated to speak up for themselves, because nobody is gonna advocate for yourself like you.
So, hi everyone, my name is Nathan Duguid. I am the founder and president of a new nonprofit organization called the Young Voters Association. Essentially, our mission is to empower young people through those ages of 16 to about 25 to educate themselves, to mobilize themselves, and to exercise their right to vote and their right to have a voice politically in this city, in this state, and in this nation, right? So the reason I'm here is because I realize some of the things that have been said today, in that voting is a matter of life and death, right? Not only is voting a matter of life and death, but our voice politically is a matter of life and death. Our voice, our freedom of speech is being attacked on a daily basis. And in order to save that right, in order to save that culture of democracy that we hold so dear in this nation and in this Western society, it is imperative that we empower the next generation to hold it to a certain standard and to try to pick up the ball that generations before us have dropped, right? So my organization is on a journey to do just that through helping the Institute and all of the several organizations that are here with voter education, civic participation and those things, but also the amplification of young voices through innovative tools, online tools, and artivism, and all sorts of things that make sure that young people are heard, and that they, not only that they vote, but they see their vote matter, and they see people respect that their vote matters, right? So I'm just here because I love this initiative. I know that I'm the oldest one here, but I wish I had this when I was in school. I'm a proud graduate of both Newark Public Schools and Newark Charter Schools. A graduate of Great Oaks Legacy Charter High School, and essentially I'm just here to make sure that young people can be the people that we listen to when it comes to school board elections. I feel like the people who are directly affected should be the people that are directly making decisions, and we're not going to stop at the school board elections. We're going to keep going to make sure that young people are empowered at every step of our democracy.
That's right. And how old are you, Nathan?
I'm 19.
Madison?
I'm 17.
And Devin?
17.
All right, shining examples. Y'all getting started early. All right, thank you guys so much. Can you tell us a little bit about any initiatives, programs, any resources that your organization currently has to support 16 and 17-year-olds in voting?
Yes, so the GEM project is big on focusing on youth engagement. We do so through means of employment, youth organizing, and our team peer mentors that we have. And we focus in on education, civic justice, as well as health and overall democracy. So just listing some of the initiatives that we do have coming up, we have our Youth Power Action and Partner activations, and where in March we plan to collaborate with youth-led organizations, including Opportunity Youth Network, Youth Media Symposium, as well as the NAACP, where we look forward to create a space for young students to directly engage in the electorals, being able to speak directly with the candidates to, as they stated, getting more education in your vote, because it's very important to vote, but an educated vote is what means the most. You're getting out your plans for your city and community, as well as hearing how they will benefit you and letting you just get the idea of who you want to lead your society. We also have our youth-led school board candidate forum. This will take place at CityPlex, where we will ask questions to ensure that youth voices are heard and shape the future of Newark schools. So once again, just going into speaking with our candidates and being able to make sure that the students have an educated vote and how they will go forward with the Newark Public Schools.
And what day is this happening on? Do you have dates?
This is taking place March 22nd, 2025.
All right, save the date, y'all. Madison?
So at YMS, we are releasing our website, and on our website, our toolkit discusses the importance of civic education, what it is, the school board, what they do, and the history of it, because students can't vote if they're not properly educated on the matters that Vote 16 handle. And as stated, we are collaborating with the GEM project, and we will be having our student-led candidate forum in March.
Awesome, thank you so much. Do you have the website link that people can find this info at?
I do have the website link. I will ask my teacher, Jennifer Amade, to share it.
All right, we'll make sure we get that info shared out. Thank you. Nick?
Awesome. So at the Young Voters Association, we're launching a program to work with students to amplify artivism. So we're in talks with several organizations to launch this program, where we're going to be working with young people one-on-one to make sure that their political voice is heard in any medium that is necessary for them, right? Because we know that young people have been the backbone of revolution for the entire life of this country. So whether it's in written op-eds, whether it's in music or film or anything of that nature, we're launching a program where we're going to work with students starting in Newark, New Jersey, and expanding afterwards, where we're going to make sure that they can complete these projects and that they're amplified not only through our network, but on several other publications that we have connections with. And we'll be working with several other organizations, and we have some materials tabled here today, and we'll be in constant contact to try to make sure that we can lift up as many young people as possible.
Thank you. And this is for all of you. How can people help and support the work you're doing, whether it's schools, school leaders, any of the organizations, or just anybody in the community who wants to support this? How can they help you out?
One big thing would be collaborating with our team. We look for anyone who's willing to help us with our initiative going forward, empowering the youth, educating the youth. We also go into just spreading the word. Events like we're doing today allow people to become educated and know that they can make that change that they want to see inside their environments. Encouraging youth petitions and presentations, such as how we're doing right now as well. By putting the youth on the forefront, we actually show them and us as that our word really matters, and we can reach a large amount of people by just forums and events that showcase we are intellectual beings and we do have changes that we want to see made in our society.
I think that we can start within the school systems because, for example, at Bard, one of my teachers, Dr. Pucone, she holds a elective called Initiative Newark, and I feel like this is a perfect example of educating kids on what goes on in Newark, and this is their city. It gets them motivated on getting involved. And also, I think it's important to educate them, but not in a forceful way, but in a way that they can really get engaged and it's entertaining for them. Also holding fun events for like incentives to get them like to want to be involved to help better their community, because this is the city that we live in, and it's up to us to try to protect it and make the best of it.
I think there are several things, but a few things. I think firstly, everyone in this room and everyone you all are connected to, I think you should think about the young people that you know. Think about the young people that you interact with on a regular basis. Those young people are people who are going to be inheriting this democracy. And I think making sure that you are an example, and I'm speaking to all of the adults in the room, making sure that you're an example. We heard Congresswoman McIver talk about how she's going to make sure she brings her child to the polls and make sure that she votes. We want to make sure that as we're doing the work to try our best to mobilize ourselves and educate ourselves, that we're in collaboration and partnership with the adults that are running things and the adults that are supporting us, right? So making sure that that's happening, and also just like they both said, that collaboration. We want not only collaboration within Newark, but when we collaborate within Newark, understand that we're a pioneer, right? Understand that we are the cities around Newark are looking at us to see if they're gonna get on board. Understand that the states around New Jersey are looking at New Jersey to see if they wanna get on board, right? So we wanna make sure that this goes smoothly and this goes in a way where we're standing united. That's what my organization stands for, and I know that's what a lot of the organizations here stands for as well. So making sure that you're ready to show up for Newark, right? That you're ready to show up for New Jersey when we look to the rest of the nation and go, we got 16 and 17-year-olds voting, they're involved in their democracy, they know what they're doing, they're not being manipulated, and we want to make sure that happens in your city, in your state, and in your environment, right? So be ready to be ambassadors, I would say.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nathan, and that's a really important point. Give it up for him. Not only is Newark the first city, but it's the largest city in New Jersey to pass an ordinance lowering the voting age, but there's many other municipalities considering this, right? And he's right, they're looking to see how does this go in Newark? Are young people gonna take advantage? Is this even worth our time, right? So, we gotta make sure we correct the narrative. Newark is also the second largest city in the country to do this, right? I think following Oakland, right? So also part of just this national conversation of what youth civic engagement looks like in this moment, so. Just wanted to echo that point. Next question. So obviously there's going to be some challenges, right? People in this room, we're highlighting that and talking about that. So I want to ask you, what do you think are the biggest challenges to making sure that young people are engaged in the voting process, and how can we overcome that?
From my personal experience as a student, I feel like a lot of the times where we may feel frightful to step up and share our ideas and what's on our mind might be the belief that it won't truly come about a change and that we will continue to endure the cycles of our demands being diminished and neglected by the society. So I feel like one big thing to focus on would be, as Dr. Brown had stated, showing us that we have responsibility and that there is an adult that comes with being a young adult, and giving us that responsibility and platform to be able to hone in on that responsibility and take part in our actions that we are doing in civic engagement, and then also being able to share the ideas that we have and how we want to be able to change our school environment through means of civic engagement.
Yeah, so like I said, I feel like the biggest challenge is the fact that students are not really aware. So if they're not aware, they can't get engaged. And I feel as though it all starts within the schools and the education. We need to educate students on the importance of voting and how if they don't vote, then their voices won't be getting out there and they won't be able to make the change that they want in their school systems.
Give her a hand, give her a hand. Nah, I would say that in addition to what they both said, and I say this in love and support of all the adults here, but I think the young people got to come together and scare the adults a little bit, right? It's one thing, you know, and we appreciate your support, but it's one thing now when, you know, it's yet to really happen and everyone's like, oh my gosh, this is such a great thing, you know? But when we actually, you know, unify and when we actually mobilize ourselves and you're very aware of the things that we want, once we get that education, once we get that motivation and that strong unit, and we get over that 3%, I want to make sure that everyone, at least everyone in this room, is not going to turn around and go, wait a second. Why whoever the young people vote for win? Like, you know what I'm saying? So we want to make sure that, you know, when that happens, young people are going to be engaged because they're going to see that their vote matters in real time. Not only are they going to see that their vote matters, but they're going to see that their voice matters in real time. Because people are going to have to realize that I have to listen to the people that I am affecting, right? So I think making sure that we stay the course, that we stay steadfast in what we're doing, and making sure that we are aware that everything we do influences the future, and everything we do is important, not just to the general, you know, this is great, vote 16, federal stuff and stuff, but to the specific young people that you know the name of, right, that are going to be inspired to make a change in their community with their vote. I want us to make sure we stay steadfast with that and make sure that young people see their vote matter, see their voice matter in real time, right? When they vote on certain people and vote on certain policies, we want to make sure that they see their vote matter in real time. Because that's the only thing, not the only thing, but that's the primary thing that's going to make sure that they realize, yeah, this voting stuff is something serious. And oh Lord, we talked about it in the beginning, that this voting stuff is real serious. And when they turn 18, it's going to be real serious, right? When they grow up and they have to deal with some of these adult problems, and they see people running for presidential elections and people running for municipal elections and all these other things, and they realize how they're affecting their daily lives, they're going to realize that this voting thing is a serious thing, right?
Yeah, you know, we keep talking about this 3%, this 3% of people who turned out in the last election. But like, what does that mean? What does that actually look like? When you drill down on the numbers, it was about 6,000 or so people who voted in the last election, out of like almost 197,000 registered voters. There's about 6,000 eligible 16 and 17-year-olds to vote, right? So when you put it into context, what Nathan's talking about, you have a block of youth voters who's about equivalent to the people who are already turning out, right? So think about the potential for that power there and that impact. And that brings us to our final question before we open it up for Q&A. Please tell me like any parting thoughts, anything you want people to know, and really like what impact are you hoping that lowering the voting age will have here in the city of Newark and beyond?
Lowering the voting age as a whole, I definitely think it, as I stated before, cuts the cycle of like our wants going unheard. I know a lot of times the students are very, very fearful of like going out and making that step because they feel like they're just a child and like they won't have any true impacts in their world. And I know at times it can be really stressful to like differentiate, here I have to be a child, here I have to be an adult, and like how to balance the two. But I feel like with an initiative such as Vote 16, it really gives us that voice and that stand and the ground that we need to know that we are students and we are children, but we are growing into adults, and there is a change that we want to make, and we can achieve that change. So that is one thing that I truly look forward to. And as he stated earlier, it begins in Newark, but then it's going to spread national, and this is the change that we will make and we will continue to make.
By lowering the voting age, I just hope that Vote 16 reaches young people my age, and it helps them to know that their voice matters, and even one person not voting, it can really impact the whole MPS school system as a whole. And I want them to know that it's important that they get their voices out there, and it motivates them to advocate for themselves, not just within the school systems, but with anything that impacts them. So they can make a change in their lives and other people's daily lives.
I think shortly, I want to make sure I didn't lose my elected officials with that last those last remarks, But I think we really want to preach unity, right? We really want to preach coming together, and we want to preach that this is something that is bigger than just voting, right? I want to greet Jesus Christ, who is the head of my life, as we're in God's house, But as I sit up here, looking at all the faces in this congregation, I think of the fact that this is more than just filling out a form. This is more than just teaching in a classroom. Voting is something that is truly life or death, or that I would argue is beyond life and death, because it's not just about voting. It's about participating in your community and participating amongst the other humanities that surround you, right? It is a spiritual act. It is something that is greater than yourself when you participate in something greater than yourself, right? So when we think about the problems that we, focus on when it comes to our young people, when we think about the things that affect, kids like me that's growing up as a young black man in Newark, New Jersey, kids like these two that are growing up in Newark, New Jersey, when we think about the issues that they face on a daily basis, understand that a lot of them are because they don't see something bigger than themselves, right? They don't see something that they're doing matter and past tomorrow, right? And we got to make sure that they understand that there is something that matters past tomorrow, right? Because we are here for tomorrow, right? And we say all the time that young people are the future, young people are tomorrow. If that's the case, why would you not want to empower that future, right? Why would you not want to enfranchise that future? And I say this a lot to a lot of people, and I want people to understand that this is about empowering your future. It's not just about us. We are the future, but your future lies in us. Your future lies in them, and we want to make sure that that future is something that we all want to see.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Preaching up here, Nathan. All right, any questions for our young leaders? Please line up at the mic right there in the middle. We'll take a few minutes. Emmanuel.
Hi, my name is Emmanuel, as Asada just said, and my question is, what advice do you have for everyone here? Like in Atlantic City, there was supposed to be a vote about Vote 16, just as we have in Newark here, but it was delayed. Presidential election, then it was delayed again, and it still hasn't happened. So what advice do you have for us to keep everyone accountable, to keep fighting, right? So that when it does come time to make that decision, to pass that ordinance, they won't keep delaying and manipulating us, that they'll get it done.
I'll start with this one. One thing that I could definitely think of is knowing that it's just a pause. It's not a complete stop. Like, just because you got into one delay doesn't mean that there won't be others, but it doesn't mean that you stop. You want to keep fighting that. And then when it comes to those constant delays to the demands that you're making, you want to speak directly to those people. So, get into the forums, email them, call them. Don't stop, do not stop that contact, because they have to reply to you at some point. And even if it isn't efficient to where you feel like, hey, this is enough for me to be able to share this and, be able to continue with the initiative that you are doing, you have to just continue. There's no way that it can stop you because you're driven by it so hard. You have to let that ambition drive you. Yeah.
Anybody else want to touch it?
I would say, you see how you stood up to speak at that microphone? You already won, baby boy. All right? You already have got that victory, right? So you want to encourage that victory in your peers, and you want to collaborate. And if you need to make some noise, make some noise. You know what I'm saying? If you need to come together and do a demonstration, do that. If you want to organize and you need help, you reach out to all the organizations here. You know what I'm saying? You make sure that you take advantage of your network, take advantage of the powerful voice that you have, okay? Trust me, it's all going to come together if we come together. It's all gonna come together if we show them that we're united and we show them that we're powerful, right? So we wanna make sure that you're not on an island by yourself, but that us in Newark, us and several other townships that we're working with you guys. You said Atlantic City?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like we're working with you and making sure that this can get passed and that people pay attention.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for the question, Emmanuel. And I just want to echo what everybody said. You know, we have to use all the advocacy tools that we have. It's very real that what happened in Atlantic City really was just a pause, right? But we know that there's still interest there from the young people in the community, and from some of the elected officials in getting that done. But there's also resistance, and there's opposition. And so it's really going to require a whole movement of people turning up at their city council meetings, you know, turning up at the school board meetings, letting people know that they want this. But then just to go back to the point that it matters what happens here in Newark, right? Other cities are looking to see, are these young people gonna come out and take advantage of this? Are they gonna vote? And if it doesn't happen well here, they might not even take the time to do that. Obviously, that doesn't mean stop, right? We don't just give up, but again, we really have to make sure that what happens here in Newark is a success. So thank you for the question. Next question?
Hi, my name's Pranav. I'm a senior from Central Jersey, and me and my friend kind of are here from, like, we just heard about it from social media, so we're here to, like, kind of support the initiative. My real question is, like, I'm 17, and I still feel like I'm a little bit uneducated when it comes to, like, just what's going on around me, like, at the county level, at the state level, even at the national level. So, like, what are some of the ways that I can kind of learn about my community so that when I do go to vote, I can be confident that the vote that I'm putting in is really an educated vote, and you know, the vote or the decision that I make doesn't come around and like turn around on me in a way that I wasn't educated, that like the elected official or that policy would, you know, come back in a way that I didn't really favor for.
One thing that's I apologize. You can say. One thing that stuck out to me was the fact that you utilize social media as a platform to bring yourself here today. I feel like taking those initiatives are very important. Like research-wise, getting the research, getting credible sources to find out information that can help you build your argument, build your debate, and be able to go forward in the initiative you want to make. Even connection with the GEM project, we have a website called youthpoweraction.com in which youth share their recent media forms they've seen on different activists and initiatives, and they collaborate and teamwork to be able to help each other get that education that you are seeking. So like that is one thing that I'll definitely look forward to as a source.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So this is the day of technology, so I feel like if you want to get more educated, you could start within your schools. Like I said, you could email your principal, your superintendent, tell them that you want more electives or courses in school that can educate not just you, but every student about civic education, you know, the school boards, the importance of voting, and even get yourself involved. You can, like you said, you were on social media, that's how you learned about this. You can find programs like YMS, ALI that educate students on student advocacy every day and get them involved in matters like this.
Thank you so much.
And I'll say, I see how you, I'm not gonna say old, but seasoned people. I see how y'all feel, because what I'm about to say gonna make me sound old. But they talked about, you know, the technology aspect of this. I think being in person is powerful too, right? The thing about local elections is you right there, you could go talk to them, right? Mm-hmm. You could call their office and email them and go to their office and reach out to them, bother them until they sit down and have a meeting with you. You know what I'm saying? You can talk directly to your school leaders. You can talk directly to the people who are, you know, making these decisions about your life, who are making these laws about how you actually vote, how you register, how to do all these things, right? So I think one piece is we're all doing great work and trying to make sure that young people are educated at large, but you within yourself, as much as you had the power to come here today to ask that question, you have the power to go directly to the people who are making those decisions and ask that question. And understand that not only will you be helping yourself, you'll be helping this initiative too, because now they're gonna have faces and names to what they're doing. That's a part of what I was saying in terms of mobilizing and making some noise and making sure, not that they fear us, but they recognize us, you know what I'm saying? So make sure that you use your presence and you take up space and you take up, I think Shirley Chisholm said that if they don't give you a seat at the table, then bring a folding chair, you know?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and let me just also add, your school board has meetings. Your city council has meetings. They're public meetings. You can go to those. You can, hear what they're talking about. You can ask questions. So it's a simple Google search, you find that info. And also, I know a lot of the partners here in Newark, they serve the young people in Newark, but there's other organizations in your area, in your community, who are running these type of educational and leadership programs. So connect with them. And if you have any questions, you can talk to one of us after.
Thank you so much.
All right, any questions? Any other questions before we wrap up? David, you coming up? All right.
Good afternoon, y'all, again. So my question for y'all is a twofold question, right? Number one, as students and young people in our city right now, can y'all identify issues that y'all are facing that are important to y'all for the community to hear right now today? My second question, actually, I'm gonna let y'all answer that first. Go ahead.
One thing that really sticks out to me is school infrastructure. That's even I wrote a paper on it. We spend 10 hours a day in school. That's like I even mentioned our second home. Why would I want to be in a facility where I don't feel safe? I'm insecure about the water. I'm unsure about where the toilets work. I need to be secure in my environment in order to make sure that I am in the right mindset to be able to thrive academically. So that's one thing that really stuck out to me and why I'm so looking forward to Vote 16, because I want to be able to vote for a candidate who I know is going to go and make that change inside my school environment.
One problem two problems that I think they're very simple, but they're also important. One, I feel like it's the school lunch, because a lot of people, you don't know their situation at home, so when they come to school, like he said, it's a second home. They look for like comfort and to be able to eat and get the education that they need. So if the school lunch is not something that's up to par, or they're just getting cold sandwiches or like hot lunches that aren't really that good, it's gonna make the school environment very miserable and less enjoyable. Now also, I think that students should be able to try to form their own electives or courses that they think appeal to them or whatever they want to major in their future careers, because it's not just about giving students core classes that teachers think is important. It's about asking students what they want to do in their future and how they want to help their school. So I feel like we should start petitions for students to make their own courses or their electives that they think really benefit them.
I think I would like to, expand on what you said. I think an issue is really the lack of youth participation in decision making, and obviously this is a great leap towards that conversation. I think making sure that young people are directly involved in their education is always going to be something that I think needs to be done. I also think that equity in education and how we, treat certain schools, how we treat certain students, and how we, divvy up funding to certain schools, I think that needs to change. I think the way we, as much as the city has united somewhat in recent years, I think the inequities around traditional public schools and public charter schools in the city of Newark and greater in the nation as well. But the fact that charter schools do not receive base facilities funding, right? The fact that charter schools on average receive about 75 cents on the dollar when it comes to per student aid, per student funding, it creates a discrepancy. It creates a inequity that we don't want to have, because just because it is a charter school doesn't mean that there are not real actual students in those schools that really actually need to learn, that really actually deserve that equitable education. And when all of our students thrive, we thrive as well. So I don't think that we should be operating around inequities that we pass off as there and other, right? I think that needs to change. And I think once that changes, some of the ways in which charter schools move, or more accurately, the way in which we think about charter schools, the way in which, the culture around what charter schools are and who they are, it will change as well. And we will be seen as more of a community, right? I think making sure that young people have that stake in their communities will help that as well. Because when charter school students are at the table with Newark public school students, when private school students as well are at the table, we're gonna seem unified, and we're gonna show that, you know, we all deserve what it is. We all deserve what we need. We all deserve the money to make sure that we can realize our futures. And I think the last thing, youth that are, you know, like yourselves, that are in high school, that are looking to attack these things from a policy perspective, that are going through the leadership of the GEM Project and Project Ready and the Youth Media Symposium and Avid Leadership and all these things, these youth that are, you know, active in the community, they should have a program to where they can fund their journeys in activism and fund their journeys in making sure that there's an actionable change that they can make in their schools and in their communities.
Appreciate that. Real quickly, I need us to recognize, right, what all the young people just said, right? So have y'all ever heard of the Newark Students Union? Any of the three of you? Yes? Have y'all heard of the district representative that's supposed to be in every Newark public school to represent the students at the district level? No? Yes? I see 2 yeses. I don't know and a no, right? So what y'all just heard from the students to the community is that they don't see the division, they see unity. The reason we got local control back was from unity and fighting together. It was public school students, charter school students, private school students, parents, educators, families all together. So I appreciate that. So on that same spirit, my next question is, how do we as community support you this year to turn out the vote, whether it means showing up for spaces and creating spaces for you all to have these forums, have spaces like this, giving you resources, giving you a vision, guidance, whatever the space may be. How do we partner with all of you to empower your peers, your schools, and yourselves?
One big thing is really creating those spaces. I love the idea of creating a space for students to come together. And personally, from my experience, I found the most successful way of doing so is a lot of times through mentor programs. I love a mentor program. I love to be able to be guided by someone who is in my exact footsteps and be able to be led on a path of a successful life that I see myself being able to go through, and then being able to establish that community by means of having a big brother or big sister, as they would label it, and being able to go into the community and make the impacts that we want to be able to see.
I think that for older people, I feel like it really starts with your support, because I know for us younger people, it could be really nerve-wracking to try to take initiative and try to make change in places where you feel like it's needed. So I think it's important for the older people to just provide little support, like words of affirmation for students, to let them know that it's okay and that they're gonna do whatever they wanna accomplish that they can do. And if you have the power, provide those resources, like introduce them to new programs, give them, like, make donations. It starts with like the little stuff like support.
And I think one way to support is obviously, you know, economically. I think making sure that young people have the space, not only the space to, you know, have safe spaces and have, you know, spaces where they can collaborate and where they can share ideas, but making sure that, you know, their dreams can be realized, right? Making sure that they, you know, have opportunities to make sure that they, like I said before, see something past tomorrow, right? So money does that, you know. Money does that for students. When you know, award them with you know, things that are actually you know, actionable and actually concrete. I'm a student at Rutgers University, Newark now, but when I was in high school, I participated in programs with the pre-college program at Rutgers University, Newark, where we receive, you know, we receive stipends for participating in a mentorship and education program, right? I participated in several fellowships where, in doing projects, social action projects from a policy perspective, and doing, you know, projects in my community, I was, you know, poured into. So it took me down a path of realizing that there's something beyond tomorrow, right? I always preach, and I'm gonna be short, I always preach that your first band is gonna show you where to go, right? It doesn't have to be $1,000. It could be any whatever is a lot of money to you. Like, does everyone in this room remember the first time you got, oh, that's a lot of money, right? For young kids, at least in Newark, New Jersey, I know, and I know from experience that first time that you get a lot of money from somebody other than like your parents or whatever, like, it shows you that that's what I need to be doing, right? If you get your first a lot of money from a place that you shouldn't be at, it means we failed that young person, right? So I think making sure that we're not penny pinching in terms of investing in our success and in our future. There's a lot of money people in the room, not necessarily rich people, but the people who are writing the checks, the people who are writing the grants, the people who are creating the budgets, you know what I'm saying? So making sure that there's a state-sponsored program to make sure that young people that, like these young people here are, poured into as they're trying to make this city a great city and make this world a great world. I think that is very important in supporting us.
Awesome.
See,
Thank you
just
so
y'all
much.
Know when y'all here, it was unity and young people that got us our first black mayor in Kenneth Gibson. It was unity of young people that got us our first Latino council person, and then president, Mr. Quintana. It was unity and young people that got us our first black woman to be the council president, God rest her soul, Mildred Crump. And unity and young people that got us Adoria Murray Thomas as our youngest board member ever elected.
Real.
Unity and young people that got us our local control back in our city. And it's gonna be these young people with the unity they're possessing that's gonna lead us into our tomorrow. So thank y'all for answering my question.
All right. Thank you so much, David, for that question and for those words. On that note, we're going to end our second panel. Please give it up again for these young people up here. We got Madison Ford with the Abbott Leadership Institute and Youth Media Symposium, Nathan Duguid, President and founder of Young Voters Association, and Devin Mitchell, a fellow with the GEM Project. All right, y'all, we wrapping up here. Don't leave yet, especially if you're a young person who has not registered to vote yet. We've had a lot of amazing speakers here today, and a lot of our city and public officials here. Not all of them were able to attend, I think. All right. Not all of them were able to attend. Not everybody who wanted to be here today could be. And that also includes our mayor, Raz Baraka, who has actually sent a very special video message to you all. So if you give us 1 second, we're going to get that up to play for you. That'll take about 2 minutes.
Hello, this is Mayor Raz J. Baraka, and I'm so proud of you teenagers who are here to learn
We don't have
about
video.
voting and to register to vote in April's Newark School Board election. Today, you are embracing a new power and taking a critical step to defend democracy at a time when democracy is under fierce attack. You are the future of Newark and the nation, and you are also a part of Newark's history, now registering to vote in the school board election. On the very first day, 16 and 17-year-olds have this right in the very first city in New Jersey to enact this legislation, and in the second largest city in all of America to do so. This is a huge deal. When you vote in April, you will have a say in decisions concerning your curriculum and classes, school safety, discrimination, equality and equity, and even lunch menus. You deserve to have your voices heard, and this is the start of your lifelong responsibility to raise your voice. Voting in every single election not only shapes your life and its opportunities, but the lives and opportunities of everyone around you. It will impact your educational possibilities and job opportunities, your housing, your health care, your freedom and financial growth. Your vote shapes your community, city, state, and nation, and by extension, determines America's role and influence in the rest of the world. Today, together, we partner with the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice, because when we cooperate and collaborate, our coalition has power. So spread the word to your friends and tell them to tell their friends to vote in the school board election, to vote for their life throughout their lifetime. This is the very beginning. Democracy is a team sport, and welcome to our team. When we vote together, we win together. Godspeed.
Awesome, awesome. All right, we got some more closing remarks and some reminders before we depart, but I do see a lot of people walking out, so I just want to remind you, if you're 16 or 17, or if you're 15, but you'll be 16 by April 15, you can register to vote starting today. Please do not leave here today without taking 2 minutes. That's all it takes to register to vote, all right? You can do it in the room to the right there, the chapel. You can do it on paper. You can do it online. We have some extra registration forms, the youth registration forms, so you can also take a few for you and your friends. But don't leave here today without registering, all right? And with that, I also want to invite one more of our city leaders, Councilwoman Roundtree, to the stage to give some closing remarks here. All right, Councilwoman.
Good afternoon, everyone. I know that there's only a few left, but what I wanted to say is thank God for the New Jersey Institute of Social Justice and the Vote 16 organization. Thank God for the youth that are speaking out, because come on, y'all make some noise in here. Because the truth of the matter is, you know, as we all have spoken and we all silently support, we need to start opening our mouth to support these young people. We are their examples. They watch what we do. They emulate what we do. And now what's happening is, because we're not really guiding, they're stepping out learning what they need to do so that they can be what they need to be for you and you and you. The young person said, the older people. I guess that's me. So the truth is, Councilwoman Bessie and my colleague, Council, we support any initiative with our young people. Why? Because we need to have somebody to pass the baton to. And if you're not prepared and we didn't have a hand in it, shame on us. So my whole message, and Dorian will tell you this, before I was even appointed, I don't say elected, well, elected too, my whole speech was preparation for the next generation. Was I not saying that, Dorian? That was my whole slogan when I got in front of young people. So we are responsible. I'm honored to be a representative of the city of Newark that can have a voice to say, support our young people. When we see them out there, don't let them stand alone. We're talking about all these different schools and charter, and we have to understand the difference between the two and how we collaborate together to be in the best interest of the young people. They deserve good food. They deserve clean hallways. They deserve to be heard. And we cannot stand back and shut them out, because right now, they're speaking up. So if we know these things are not happening for them so they can have a better life, already dealing with the issues of their community, shame on us. God bless you. Vote 16. I support you. My colleagues support you. And I know God has his hand on you. Thank you, Dorian, and thank you to all of you who've come and those who even left. God bless you, too. Here you go. Somebody come get the mic.
Thank you, Councilwoman, for ending us on such a powerful note. We are, again, wrapping up here, so just a quick reminder, as I already mentioned, register to vote here on site. You can continue to register to vote until March 25th. That's the deadline for the school board election. Also, spread the word. You know, we all talked about it here today, how important word of mouth, social media, personal relationships are. There's still many people, many in the city who don't know about this ordinance, who don't know young people now have the right to vote, so spread the word. And on that note, just thank you to all of our speakers. Thank you to all of our partners, and especially to each of you for being here today. This is a historic moment, and we're ready. So we'll see you at the polls in April. Thank you so much.